Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of Need I Say Myrrh, the Christmas podcast. And today I am delighted to be joined by Kay Morgan-Gurr. Hello, Kay. Good to see you. How are you today?
Hello. Not too bad, thank you.
Okay, are you feeling festive yet? We are recording this on the 2nd of December. How festive are you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10?
We don't tend to do Christmas until after my birthday, so we're not festive yet.
Not festive yet. There we go. But firstly, it'd be good if you can introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you? What do you do? That kind of thing.
I am a disability and additional needs advisor, consultant, trainer, writer, etc., etc. Wear
Mhm.
lots of different hats with different organisations, just representing those who are disabled or have additional needs. Based around the East Midlands area, which is very useful for travelling all over the country, which we do quite frequently.
Yes, and if people want to find out more about your work, do you have a web address you'd like to advertise?
Yes, I have two websites that are in the process of merging at the moment. The Pondering Platypus is what I go by, and you'll find lots of information there. And then Pondering Platypus Resources, which is family and church prayer resources, creative prayer,
Hmm.
that you can make accessible.
Is there a story behind Pondering Platypus? That's quite an interesting name.
Yeah, I before I started doing this, I was a children's evangelist along with my hubby, and I wanted to actually put the two things together, but it ended up that I was doing all these things that other people couldn't see the connection with, but I could. So it was a bit like, a platypus is made over the leftover pieces that God had at the end of the day.
Okay, right.
So that's why we went for that.
Okay, no, it's a good name, a memorable name. So that's good. Pondering Platypus. So I've got four questions that I'm asking all of the guests appearing on this podcast. So we'll go through them and see what your festive thoughts are, even though you're not quite in a festive mood yet. But by the time this episode goes out, hopefully you will be. And so, question one. What is your favorite Christmas decoration?
I used to have some favorite ones when I was little, but my mum gave them away without my knowledge, so I don't have them anymore.
Oh,
So, but what I have got is a creature that I made myself, which is a crocheted white angel bear, and he goes in our window every Advent.
oh, that's lovely. Yes. And does the angel bear have a name?
It doesn't, it's just angel bear.
Angel bear. Well, that's a good enough name, isn't it? Uh, yeah. Do you do a lot of crochet stuff? And have you done other Christmas crochet?
I'm known for it, so I make them to sell for our local food bank charity.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to do. Yeah. And do you have other crochet Christmas things around your house as well?
No, because they get given away. So, but at the moment, it's all family Christmas presents being made. The theme is dinosaurs this year.
Okay, that's a good thing to make. And do you tend to go quite big with Christmas decorations at home?
We don't. We don't have a Christmas tree. We have a festive stick. So it's a bare tree. So it's, like trees are. And we just sort of put things on there. Some homemade decorations and some not so homemade.
Okay, yeah, a festive stick. I like that. That's maybe a new trend that we could start. But yeah, no, it's good to have those kind of homemade things, and for you sharing some of those, whether those you sell to raise money and those that you give as presents. That those are precious things, aren't they? We can move on to talk about food, and I'm wondering, what is your least favorite festive food?
Well, this one could cause an outcry.
I hope so. I love outcries on this podcast. That's what we aim for.
I can't stand pigs in blankets.
Wow, that okay, right. I wasn't quite prepared for that much of an outcry. That's quite a strong statement.
I like the blankets. The blankets are fine, but I just think sausages are an abomination.
Wow, okay, this is very strong stuff. Has that been like a long-held view?
Yeah, I think it's because my mum used to incinerate them. So I just didn't like them. And having been a children's evangelist on the road, everybody's assumed I liked sausages, and I've been fed sausages and had to eat them because that's what you do.
So do you like putting other things in blankets, as in like wrapping other things in bacon?
No, I just like bacon.
Just bacon by itself. Okay,
Yeah, add a poached egg, even better. But yeah, just eggs and bacon.
eggs and bacon. The perfect traditional Christmas dinner, eggs and bacon. What could go wrong?
Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. Fried with bacon.
Fried, yeah, indeed, Brussels sprouts do go very well with bacon. That is very true. But then most things can be improved with bacon. And this is something that Dan James said in his first episode of this new series. Yeah, no, I do think your pigs in blankets comment will get some pushback. And I should say we do welcome correspondence on this podcast. If people want to get in touch to criticize Kay, that's needisaymyrrh at gmail.com, needisaymyrrh at gmail.com, and we can share those thoughts in a future episode. And in terms of Christmas dinner dessert,
Ooh, well, our tradition is to have Christmas pudding later in the day so we can enjoy it. Christmas pudding, the nuttier the better.
okay, there we go. Yeah, I do think you do need to allow a bit of a gap, don't you, between the dinner and the pudding, especially if you've had lots of bacon with it. Okay, it'd be good to move on to the next question, which is about Christmas Eve. So you've spoken a bit about Christmas Day. What are your Christmas Eve traditions?
We actually don't have any. We've been children's evangelists, so our Christmas Eve used to be doing an event for families and then spending the evening trying to put everything away again. So anybody that's in children's work will recognise this really well. We've never put anything in place. We thought maybe we should have a tradition. We tried going to a midnight service, not doing that again.
If you did have things that you did put in place for Christmas Eve tradition, do you have any thoughts on what that might be?
Um, we like Muppet Christmas carols, so, but we've usually watched that before Christmas Eve. So one of our favourite Christmas films, but I'm not really into the sentimental Christmas films at all. So I'm not a sentimental person, nor's my husband. So we're just content little creatures in our house.
That's fine, isn't it? And when you've got a Muppet Christmas Carol, what more do you need?
Well, considering we're both puppeteers, we're both ventriloquists, we just enjoy it for that level.
I guessed about the puppeteers based on the background of where you are sat at this moment, where I can see at least three puppets.
Yes.
I didn't know about the specific ventriloquism. So, have you done lots of Christmas puppet related performances over the years then?
Yeah, for me, about 30 years worth. For Steve, my hubby, about 25 years worth.
Okay, that's a lot between you, isn't it? Have you ever tried to reenact a Muppet Christmas Carol yourself?
No, you can't improve on perfection.
On this podcast, we are very firmly in favour of a Muppet Christmas Carol as being the greatest Christmas film, possibly the greatest film. So that's good to hear. Talking of Christmas Carol, we should come to the last question. And I have had a bit of a heads up about what your answer may involve, because you sent me a message before we started. The question is, what is your favourite Christmas carol?
I don't like Christmas carols. I sort of I like Joy to the World, but I'm reliably informed that's not a Christmas carol.
I think you can call it a Christmas carol, and I think so many people see it as a Christmas carol. It's only really if you want to be really pedantic, which I love being. I did like when you said that you don't like Christmas carols. I was quite excited about that because I thought all my other guests will have long lists of these Christmas carols that they love. And I thought, here's another voice, another perspective. So, what is it about Christmas carols that you don't like?
There's a few different things. Firstly, I was a musician alongside everything else. So, singer, flautist, pianist, etc., etc. I have near perfect pitch. And some of the things about when people in the congregation try to put the descant in and it's out of tune, and everything in me is just cringing because it's so out of tune. They're not easy to play. And by the time you're out of the Christmas season, you are so fed up of Christmas carols, you don't want to hear another one ever. Also, I don't like things that turn Jesus into a fairy tale. And the wording in a lot of them is just that.
No, I think they're fair reasons. Yeah, for that, and certainly, and this has come up a few times with other guests previously that that fairy tale aspect of Christmas carols is not always helpful. That we need to remember that Jesus came into our actual world to save actual people like us. That wasn't just a fairy tale. Is this a long-standing aversion to Christmas carols that you've had?
Yes, I like From the Squalor of a Borrowed Stable, but that's a sort of song that's for all year, not just for Christmas.
And it is a good song, yeah. And as you say, for not just for Christmas. Is there non-religious Christmas music you enjoy listening to at this time of year?
Some I like the Pentatonics album for Christmas.
Uh-huh.
I know there's traditional carols in there, but I enjoy it for the a cappella sound. It's just beautiful arrangements.
Maybe this is another reason why you didn't like the midnight service, is just all of the carols that you had to endure.
No, there are a lot more. If I just say I'm a wheelchair user and there was nowhere for me and I was made to feel like an alien.
Yeah, which is maybe something that we can chat about as we come towards the end of this episode. Yeah, obviously, Christmas is a time as churches we think a lot about being welcoming in some ways. Like we want to be friendly to people who come in. We're expecting guests. We want to have mince pies available, and we have all these kind of things we put in place. But we can sometimes maybe not think so much about being accessible as being part of our welcome. Are
Mm.
there some key questions that you'd encourage people like me, church leaders, to think through ahead of carol services? And we may not have much time to think ahead of them, depending on when this episode goes out. But for the future as well, all year round. So obviously, wheelchair access is a basic thing, isn't it? And not just the access, but when a wheelchair user arrives, where they're going to go, and for them to feel welcome and not just an inconvenience. That's kind of one basic thing. What are some other things that you'd encourage us to think through as church leaders?
Yeah, I mean, the wheelchair one is so obvious,
Mhm.
but also making sure there's no storage in the loo so it can be used. I think some of the biggest problems are for those who are neurodivergent, specifically
Mm.
autistic. The other things are for visual impairment, because not every person that has a visual impairment is completely blind. And trying to read red on green or green on red or anything on red can be an absolute nightmare. And at this time of year, we do like our curly writing and inaccessible colour schemes, which means not just people with a visual impairment, but anybody that's neurodivergent can't read anything that's on a screen, on an invitation. Yeah, the list
Mhm.
can go on.
But it is helpful, I think, for yeah, these questions that we might not have thought through before, and some of them are quite basic things, aren't they? Things like clearing the disabled loo is kind of a simple thing to do, and
Actually, the accessible loo is usually more accessible at Christmas because that's where most churches store their Christmas decorations.
so it's making sure you've got somewhere else to put your Christmas decorations when you take them down again. That's helpful. Yeah, no, it's good to think about being welcoming to whoever comes, because we want all kinds of people to experience the joy of Christmas. Yeah, so that's helpful. And again, we can point people to the Pondering Platypus if they want any more advice or guidance or support from you through the year to think about how to make our churches places where all kinds of people from all kinds of walks of life can come and meet Jesus and find life in him. Well, thank you for joining us for today's podcast and for sharing your sometimes very controversial. I think you may get a lot of pushback on a lot of your answers, but that's what we like, and that's good. But yeah, we hope, Kay, that you have a very happy Christmas.
And you. Thank you.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.